back on Back Order, front to back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter?
Now, Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Tuesday. A bit of a dreary Tuesday, a little bit of rain in the area. Hopefully doesn't affect LSU in Northwestern State tonight. We'll talk briefly about that game coming up in hour number 2, but a lot to get to over the next 2 hours. I've heard Moscona over the years say a few times, this is a one-topic day. This is not a one-topic day. We're going to talk Saints mini camp and the schedule release coming up with Sharif in 15 minutes. We're going to talk to Glenn West about LSU baseball at 1:30. I've got a golf story I want to get to a little bit later that is absolutely wild. Matthew Bruni's going to come on at 2 o'clock. He's from On Threes at the Bengal Tiger. LSU's basketball roster is pretty much set, and Matthew went through it piece by piece over at On 3 and kind of talked about the team that Matt McMahon's going to have entering next season. We got the NBA playoffs coming on. We got Take It or Leave It. So plenty to get to over the next 2 hours, and we'll kind of be hopping around. Today, when I was thinking about what I wanted to lead the show with, look, it's May the 9th. There's 2 weekends left in Southeastern Conference baseball. We've got an SEC tournament. We've got a regional coming up. There are projections. There are RPI numbers to crunch. It is in the thick of baseball. But I didn't necessarily see a huge storyline with baseball that I wanted to go with today. So I said, okay, let's go find one. And, the big talking point yesterday was LSU's pitching over the weekend. Floyd kind of fell apart. The first inning on Sunday was awful. They lost the series for the first time, and the glaring piece to it was the pitching. We kind of talked about that yesterday, and I wanted to go into the offense. So I started crunching numbers and see what they tell me. My eyes tell me things are pretty good. However, they weren't all peachy over the weekend. You realize after you created a lot of traffic on Saturday, you didn't do enough offensively to win that game. You scored 6 runs, but not enough. And then you only scored 2 on Sunday. And oh, by the way, in the game that Paul Skeens dominated, you won, but you only scored 3 runs in that game. So that's a couple of subpar outings offensively, and then one year left a lot of guys on base. But is there any significant issue with the way this offense is humming right now? Well, the first thing I pulled were LSU's conference hitting statistics. Conference games only. Don't care what you did against Butler. Don't care about Central Connecticut State. Don't want to hear about Sam Houston or Nichols. What are you doing against Tennessee and Arkansas and Auburn and A&M? What are you doing against Bama? Those are potential hosts. Those are potential 2 seeds. Those are the types of teams you're going to run into in the NCAA tournament. So how's LSU swinging the bat in Southeastern Conference play? Well, Dylan Cruz is doing pretty well. Even after a 2 for 12 weekend, his batting average in league play is .452. His on base in SEC play is .589. So 59% of the time he's getting on base. He's slugging over .785. Dylan Cruz's OPS in league play is 1.375, 1,300 plus. That is obscene. He's awesome. Tommy White's been great in league play. He's hitting .347. That's really good. He's got 7 homers. His OPS is over 1,000. Those 2 guys have been great. No one else in LSU's lineup is hitting over 300 in league play. Jared Jones is hitting .289 in SEC play. And he is striking out a good bit. In 93 plate appearances, Jared Jones has struck out 32 times. He's striking out about 35% of the time he digs in, which is not great. But I do have to couple that with the fact that Jared Jones in league play has hit 5 home runs, and he's slugging .513, which is pretty good. He's helping you create runs. Yes, he's going to strike out some, especially against the breaking ball. But he's hitting .289. He's getting extra base hits, and I think has been pretty good in league play, especially for a freshman. I don't worry about Trey Morgan. He's hitting .287 in league play. His on base is .422. That's good. He actually has a little bit of slugging percentage to him. Not great, but .404. It's not just all singles. He's fine. But nobody else is hitting over .253 in league play. So when I get that information, I go, okay, Cruz is going nuts. White's going nuts. Jones has been pretty good. Morgan's consistent at .287. Everybody else, Jordan Thompson, .253. Cade Beloso, .234. Gavin Dugas, .197. Josh Pearson, .213. Okay, that's not great with the supporting cast. You relied on 2 guys a lot. So that led me to go look at some of the other good teams in the SEC. Well, how are they performing in conference play offensively? So I grabbed South Carolina. They've been good offensively. 14-9 in league play. Top 5 RPI in the country. And Ethan Petrie, as you'd imagine, is crushing the ball in SEC play. He's got 13 homers. He's hitting .388. He's a star. But they got 3 guys on their lineup hitting over .258 in league play. 3. How's Arkansas swinging the bats? That's a good team. Solid program. Well coached. Jace Borfin, been fantastic in league play. Hitting .353. So is Caleb Call hitting .353. But they got 4 guys in their lineup, so less than half of the 9 guys they trot out there hitting over .225 in league play. They've got 5 guys they send out there every day that are hitting under .225 in SEC play. Florida, how are they swinging the bats? That's a good offensive team. They're trying to be a top 8 national seed. Florida is swinging the bats better than LSU in league play. They've got 6 guys hitting over .296 in SEC play. Caglione's hit 12 homers. Rivera's hit 6. Langford. Florida's lineup has outperformed LSU's. But basically, most teams have a couple of guys hitting .340, .350 and carrying the freight. And then they've got a bunch of guys who may, when they dig in, be hitting .291. But a lot of that was done against some of the lesser competition. I lay all that out. And I want to bring this back in to frame the discussion. Here's the other piece to this equation. We now have 23 conference games to look at for LSU. Not 6 or 9. This is a big sample size. 23 games of league play. LSU is averaging 8 runs a game. They went to College Station. They scored 9, 12, and 6. They played Arkansas. They scored 3 in a game they lost. Then they scored 12 and 14. I'll bring it back to, that's a long time ago. I get it. Those were the first 2 weekends. I'll bring it to a more recent weekend. Alabama, they scored 8, 12, and 13 against Alabama. I don't know how bad. Coach might have been gambling against them. But you get the point. They scored 33 runs against Bama. They scored 33 runs on Kentucky. Kentucky's the number 1 RPI team. That weekend, LSU scored 16, 10, and 7. In these 23 league games, they have scored 4 runs or less 3 times. They scored 3 in a game against Arkansas. They scored 3 on Auburn in game 1 and 2 on Auburn in game 3. That's the only 3 times it happens. On the flip side, LSU has scored 7 or more runs in league play, 15 out of 23. That's 65% of the time LSU scores 7 or more. So it's going to be tough for me to sit here and say that there's some sort of issue with the offense. If you want to say they're leaning too hard on White and Cruz, guess what? There just aren't a lot of teams whose 8-hole hitters are crushing you. And I'll suggest this. Like, Trey Morgan's SEC batting average is not going to jump off the page at you as being great. He's hitting 287. Now, you say, well, he's going to be just be an All-American. That's not good enough. Well, he's getting on base 422. 42% of the time he's getting on base. That's pretty solid. Gavin Dugas's SEC numbers look awful. He's hitting 197 in league play. 197 in 21 games. But he's drawn 17 walks and gotten hit 15 times. His on-base percentage is 442. So, yeah, if you look at his SEC batting average and say he should not be hitting leadoff, if you look at batting average, you'd be right. But you got to draw in the fact that he's drawing walks and he's getting hit. He got hit in all 3 games against Auburn. 442 is a good on-base percentage. I don't care what your batting average is. There's a reason people don't lean on batting average very much when they're talking about scouting and that kind of stuff. How often you get on base? So I think LSU is fine offensively. I think they're just fine. I'm encouraged the fact that Gavin Dugas homered last Tuesday and homered on Sunday. That's a good sign moving forward. I don't put any stock into the fact that Dylan Cruz went 2 for 12 and he's somehow quote-unquote slumping. They played Bama 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago at this point, and he got 2 hits in all 3 games. He ain't going to hit 800. They're going to need him in crunch time to get big hits for him, and he's going to because he's the best player that's ever played for the school. I think LSU's offense is just fine. The pitching staff is still a concern, and I will grant you that. And I'll tell you, if LSU's offense shows up in a super regional and they score 3 runs in the first game and 6 runs in the second game and 2 runs in the third game, they're going to lose. They're going to lose the weekend. They're not going to go out there in a super and do that. Is it possible for them to win game 1 scoring 3? Yeah, if Skeens shuts them down like he did Auburn. And is it possible for them to win game 2 scoring 6? Yeah, I'd rather score more. But the good news is, even with those, in the SEC sample size, they're scoring 8 runs a game. They averaged 9 on A&M, 9.6 on Arkansas, 11 on Kentucky, 11 on Bama, 7.5 against Ole Miss, 6 on Tennessee, 6.5 on South Carolina. They come and swing the bats just about every game. So, does it look exactly like it looked early in the season? No. If you just look at the stat sheet here, is it gorgeous? No, in terms of batting averages. Is the production exactly where it needs to be? It is. And I don't mean to come on here and every time something kind of veers off the road for this LSU baseball team and say, hey, they're fine. They're going to win the national championship. Best team in the country. Don't worry. That's not the point. I've told you that the pitching is very much a concern. I've given up on a second and third starter becoming a guy who I can count on to give me 6 great innings. That's I wish I had it. I don't. But they're good. They're really good. They win a lot. And I'm telling you, when they host a regional here in a month, they will be the prohibitive favorite to get out of it. And when they play super regional the next week, they will be the prohibitive favorite to win it. They may lose. This sport, it happens every year. But I think they're okay. They just need to get back on track. We'll see if they can play tonight against Northwestern State, and then they'll bring in just a really scuffling Mississippi State team this weekend, and they can this weekend put this whole thing to bed. You sweep Mississippi State, and I'll talk about it moving forward. You sweep Mississippi State, you're top 8. So we'll see. That's just my look at some of the numbers and what I dug up earlier this morning when I was kind of looking at a direction to go. Saints looking to go in a different direction. They got Derek Carr. They'll get their schedule here later in the week. Sharif Ishak covers the black and gold for WDSU. He will join us next on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
LWCC is Louisiana Loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. We love celebrating these champions of Louisiana. We've been doing it for 11 months here on the Hunt Palmer Show, and this month we've been telling you about Dr. Robert Jackson and his wonderful work up in North Louisiana. He founded the MLK Health Center and Pharmacy in Shreveport. It is Northwest Louisiana's oldest free clinic and pharmacy. It provides over $16 million in services to over 1,700 patients a year. Dr. Jackson cares a lot about the place that he's from, Northwest Louisiana, the place that I'm from, and he's made a tremendous impact, and that's why he's a champion of Louisiana. If you know someone, they're all over the place. If you know someone who's doing some great philanthropic work in our state, whether it's a nonprofit, maybe it's just a person, maybe it's a business that's doing something that's fantastic for our state, we want to know about it. Go to lwcc.com/champions. You can nominate a champion of Louisiana so we can tell their story right here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Dr. Robert Jackson is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana Loyal.
Our listeners fire up their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $20,000 off new 22 Ram 1500 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory, all with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure. I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. It's just amazing.
Ochsner Health. Long live you.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further. Like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Join me, Jimmy Ott, and Mike Delicano for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee, just off of Nicholson. Tuesday edition of Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m. right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You know, just when you think there's no NFL to talk about, you think, well, we're right here. It's the NBA playoffs, college baseball in this market's a big deal right here, and Major League Baseball's kind of cranking up. NFL would take a back seat. NFL won't allow itself to take a back seat. They blow it out for 3 days for the draft, and they send a bunch of folks to mini camp, and then they do the schedule release, and they just keep you coming back for more. So because of that, we go back down to New Orleans, chat with Sharif Ishak of WDSU. Sharif, how are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you, Hunt?
I'm good. How's the anticipation for schedule release down there in New Orleans?
Well, I think they want to see how many primetime games they get this year compared to last year, with a lot of the hype last year and only getting 3, and probably a pretty decision whenever you saw the season. Nobody saw that all those injuries were coming, but I think that's what it is. They want to know when the matchups are happening and when are the primetime games coming. I know it's not a guarantee this year you get a primetime game apparently, so I'm interested to see how many of the Saints actually get.
The big story is that the NFC is without the big name elite quarterback play outside of Jalen Hurts and maybe Dak Prescott. It's just not a star-studded lineup of quarterbacks like you have over in the AFC. And you look at the Saints' schedule because of that, and they don't play the NFC East. You look at the lineup of quarterbacks that they're going to be facing. Is it fair to call this Saints schedule soft?
I mean, it's the second easiest schedule in the NFL. The Falcons have the easiest schedule. Yeah, it's soft, and it's okay to call it that, but you better take care of that soft schedule. You better at least get to 10, 11 wins if it's going to be that soft. Because think about it, the possibility, if you remove Hendon Hooker, because Dan Campbell says he's not even close to being a starting quarterback right now in the NFL, they could face all 4 rookie quarterbacks that were drafted in the first 2 rounds. Levis, Stroud, Young, as well as Richardson, as a possibility. And then a debacle in Tampa Bay. And who knows with Desmond Ritter. So, yeah, the Saints don't figure out how to win at least 10, 11 games, but that's the problem. Schedule is super soft for them.
I have not looked at odds for NFL divisions next year, and I don't know if you have either, but are the Saints the favorite in the NFC South right now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. They are the favorite to win the NFC South. I think their over-under for wins might be 9.5, last I checked.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
I feel good about it. I really do. But, of course, Hunt, every year with this team, the biggest thing with this team is the H word, healthy. Can they stay healthy enough in a 17-game season to prove a lot of us right? Or, last year they proved me wrong. I had them going 11-6. They went 7-10, and it had a lot to do with being just beat up by the injury bug. So yeah, I mean, I think if they can stay relatively healthy for most of the season and catch fire at the end, like kind of similar to what they did this past season, they're gonna have a chance for the 10-11 win mark.
So I have a saying that I go to each and every year, and it applies to college football with LSU, and it applies to everybody that I watch in college football. But there is a calendar, and the fans' emotions generally follow a certain pattern. And so by the time the season's over, if it hasn't gone very well, you want to fire the coach. You got to get new blood. Things are maybe not great in December. But by the time spring football comes around and signing day comes and goes, well, all these 5-stars are going to be awesome, and we got a new offensive coordinator, and then all the spring practice reports are positive, and then the strength coach comes on the radio and says how great everybody's shape is in the summer, and then fall camp arrives, and everybody thinks that they're 3 games better than they probably are, just because that's the way that the fan bases operate in college football. Now, NFL teams don't turn over as much. But are you sensing that even though people were really down on the Saints as of Thanksgiving of last year, that by the time we ramp this thing into August, everybody's going to be feeling like this is a playoff team, this team's got a shot, no watered down NFC, we're ready to roll? Or is there still some hangover from the fact that, we don't have Peyton, we don't have Breeze, this is not what it used to be?
This is going to be that first year of maybe we don't have to talk about this Breeze, Peyton, and anybody who's still left over from the Peyton era, because he got his coaches in, got rid of the guys he didn't want, got brand new coaches, with the exception of Pete Carmichael. You get the new players, the players you want. So essentially, putting his thumbprint on his team now in Dennis Allen. So this is got to be the year. It's set up perfectly for him. Schedule's not tough. Quarterbacks aren't that great you're going to face. You have the coaches, you have the players in place, you have your quarterback. You hope to have a healthy Michael Thomas for the most of the season. And now I'm not like going to be that guy who says, "Oh, they're going to win 12, 13 games." I just don't know. I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
Because every time I do that, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah, 13 games is tough to do. You set that thing closer to 10, I think you may have things pretty well in the right direction. Foster Moreau obviously came in for his meeting with the Saints, was going through the physical, and very unfortunately found out that there's Hodgkin's lymphoma. Feel like they caught it relatively early. He's fighting that first and foremost, but the Saints are still in talks with the former Jesuit Blue Jay and LSU Tiger. What do you know about that situation? And if he's healthy, does he fit?
Yeah, of course. I mean, they certainly need another tight end. I mean, Derek Carr obviously operates great with two tight ends. It's just, when can he play if he does?
Yeah.
That's the big question. He might have to, sit out 6 games and not be ready to go until October or so, and rightfully so. He's going through something very serious. I mean, if he does go with another team, it's going to be, I think, the same situation. I mean, when are you going to be in football shape? When are you going to be 100% healthy and on the field ready to contribute for the team? Because they desperately need another tight end. I mean, there's no way around it. I mean, I'd like his fit. I really do. He's probably the best fit out there that's available, and that's the guy I think they're hoping to get. And I mean, I don't think it gets any better than that for the Saints to get the hometown kid on the team and get him rolling.
Another guy that's played with Derek Carr as well. And so as we look towards rookie minicamp here, any storylines that you'll be following? I know we know the order the guys were picked, but is it just an introductory deal for those guys, or is there something you'll be looking for?
Really is an introductory. It's hard to watch the defensive and offensive linemen without any pads on. That's something we're not going to see in training camp. I mean, that's the first thing you want to see. Like, oh, how awesome are these two defensive linemen and Nick Saldivaria going to be? But you're not going to get much out of the guys in the trenches. But I do want to watch a lot of A.T. Perry and Jay Kaner. I want to see how they operate this week, and even in OTAs and mandatory minicamp. I want to see some of these offensive players. Kendry Miller probably won't be ready to go until maybe minicamp, training camp, because he's dealing with an injury. But I do want to see some of these offensive players, because I think A.T. Perry has a chance to be someone who could sneak into this lineup and do some damage. And they need that contested receiver type of guy who can go up and get the ball. I just want to see if he can do it over the middle of the field. I know he can do it on outside of the hashes. That's one of the guys I want to keep my eye on, at least this week and then moving forward into OTAs.
Pelicans fans spent a couple of years pulling against the Lakers trying to improve their draft picks, and all of a sudden now they're a game from the conference final. How shocked are you at the turnaround by LA?
I think the Minnesota Timberwolves should be investigated by the FBI for giving away all those players for nothing. I mean, Conley needs to be fired, or something. He needs to be given a ring. So that's absurd how the NBA let that happen. But the team they're a way better team than the Pelicans. It's not even close. I mean, obviously they're in the playoffs. They're playing the best basketball, I think, of any team in the playoffs right now. You got to give credit to LeBron James for getting this team together. I mean, you see Lonnie Walker, the fourth, contributing in the fourth quarter all 15 of his points. I mean, that's just unreal. Anthony Davis goes missing, and then you got a guy like him producing. But, hey, man, you've seen this before in a lot of sports. Ole Miss got hot at the right time last year, won a national championship. The Lakers are getting hot at the right time. They're healthy, and they look dangerous, man. I don't know who could beat them. Maybe the Warriors have some kind of miraculous run. It's going to be interesting if they get into that next round, either against the Suns or Nuggets. I think the Nuggets could possibly give them the most headaches.
We shall see. Sharif, appreciate the time, man.
Anytime.
He is Sharif Ishak over there at WDSU, covering the black and gold as well as the Pels. We'll continue to check in with Sharif over the next couple of weeks, talking about Saints rookie minicamp as they'll get some of the new faces out there in front of the camera a little bit, and Sharif will certainly be all over that down there with WDSU. Sharif's usually with us in hour number 2, but he had some things to do later on this hour, so we bumped him up a little bit. Glenn West, always with us in hour number 1 on Tuesday. He'll join us next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Bayou Ford has $15,000 off plus 0.9% APR for 60 months on all new 22 Ford F-150 SCA trucks and incredible deals on all remaining 2022 inventory. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
On Wednesday's OTB, at LSU, man, it's a bounce back in the midweek, and we'll start to look forward to the battle with Mississippi State. Plus, Matt Flynn stops by for some flestering fun off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Sharif, for being flexible with us. Guy doesn't have to be flexible because he's right on time. This is Glenn West of Go 247 with us every single Tuesday here at 1:30. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Glenn, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Hunt. How are you?
I am well. Any concern for the Fighting Tigers after losing 2 of 3 against Auburn?
Yeah, I'd like to start by publicly retracting my endorsement of the Hunt Palmer Show's first hour last week. No, just I'm just kidding. No, I think the big sweeping takeaway is that this pitching staff was really good for about 12 innings, and then they just couldn't find the strike zone for the final day and a half of games in Auburn. And I think there was just a lot of problems with the pitching staff in terms of just consistency and getting the ball over the plate. You felt bad for Ty Floyd after really dominating his Saturday outing and really falling into a bit of a trap there with the elongated, kind of timeout there in the game. You could tell it really affected him, and it was pretty much downhill, I think, from there, pitching staff-wise. And offensively, they didn't really get much going. I don't put much stock into one bad weekend at the office for this offense. I don't think you're going to see Dylan Cruz go 2 for 12 many more times this season. But again, it just kind of highlights, that this is, a little bit of a thinning in terms of the margin for error. If LSU's offense isn't playing at an elite level, and the pitching staff can't get the walks and the free passes under control, there's a path to beating this team, and I think we saw that this weekend.
Are you ready to shake things up in the weekend rotation? They've got 3 weeks left. Do you have an option there, or do you think they're kind of going with the best and they just got to pitch better?
I think you have to shake things up a little bit. I think the fact that Christian Little and Griffin Herring couldn't get you a single out on Sunday is really concerning, and so I'm all in on going back to Thatcher Hurd. I think he's looked really good the last 3-4 times he's been out on the mound. I think that makes a lot of sense for LSU as a potential third starter. I don't think you make any changes with the first two guys. I think all in all, Paul Skeens is the most dominant pitcher we've ever seen, and Ty Floyd has done a really nice job. Just kind of ran into a really rough inning there that he just couldn't really get himself out of. So I do think you keep the first two where they're at, but I would consider going to a Thatcher Hurd on Sunday.
Anybody else that caught your eye on the mound over the weekend, either positively or negatively, that you may see a different role for?
Yeah, I mean, I thought Gavin Guidry did a really nice job. I think he's honestly turned into probably your best bullpen pitcher, your most consistent bullpen pitcher. Just considering what you might have to do with Hurd here in the next several games. But yeah, I think he's looked the part of a guy that can pitch a couple times a weekend and get you through an inning or two. I'm not sure if he's the kind of guy that you want going 3, 4, 5 innings in a relief kind of role. And LSU's kind of set it up that way to where he's not going to be doing that, I don't think. I thought Griffin Herring just was really the first time all season. He looked like a freshman. He just really struggled on the road in that environment and just couldn't find the strike zone. But I like what Nate Ackenhausen did for you on Friday. I liked obviously what Thatcher Hurd did for you on Friday. I thought that was about as good as a complete game as this pitching staff has had all season was that Friday night game. And certainly when you got a guy like Paul Skeens headlining it, that's going to make your job a lot easier for the bullpen. But I thought that those were a couple guys that kind of stood out to me over the weekend.
I asked you about this last week, but I'll return to it since we have 3 more games to look at. Your thoughts on the catcher position and what you would do there moving forward?
I think you stick with Milazzo. I really like what Milazzo's given you overall. I know he didn't have a great weekend at Auburn, but nobody really had a great weekend at Auburn. Trey Morgan had a really nice first game. Paul Skeens was obviously great, but outside of that, I think you could probably nitpick at every single player in terms of the production they had this weekend. I think you can just chop it up to just a really just poor overall weekend for the Tigers on those final 2 days in particular. But I would stick with Milazzo. I think he gives you the best chance to win just because of what he can do defensively, and he's improved at the plate. I know that this last weekend wasn't great for him, but I think there has been enough improvement there to see that you could stick with him and not really lose a whole lot behind the plate.
Paxton Kling and Braden Jobert, where are you on those two guys and how often they should be in the lineup?
Yeah, it's tricky right now for that third outfield spot because it's not only those two, but Cade Belosa's kind of taking a little bit of a downswing in the DH spot. And so if you're talking about moving guys around and potentially getting Trey Morgan back over to first or something like that, then you're left with the possibility of 2 guys being out there that don't get a whole lot of, that are kind of splitting opportunities right now. I think probably the best lineup for LSU in the outfield right now is Trey Morgan, Dylan Cruz, and then Josh Pearson. I just think that Josh Pearson, he hasn't given you a ton of production to this point, but he's a guy that puts together really solid at bats. I think he can do the job to an extent, and he can also make some good plays defensively. I just think with the other two guys offensively, it's really just you don't know if you're going to have a 3-hit game from Joe Bear or a 0-for-4 game with 4 strikeouts. It's just kind of one of those deals where I think Josh Pearson might give you the best at bats offensively, and then you don't really lose anything defensively with him out there either.
Right now, you look at where LSU sits in the landscape of the country, and you're 16-7 in league play. You've got an RPI of 2 at the moment, and I just how many games do you think they need to win of the next 6 league games to feel like they don't have anything to accomplish going to Hoover?
Yeah, I think if you win both series, if you win 2 out of 3 of the next 2 weekends, you feel really good. That puts you in that 20-win range. And I think that, look, they've been a top 2 team all season long, and that's even with some of the deficiencies they've had as the pitching staff. And, you talked about it great last week, how that it's very common across the league and across the country right now. I mean, outside of Wake Forest, there's a bunch of teams out there that have really good records, really good pitchers, and really good resumes that just don't have the numbers right now. And so I think LSU certainly falls in that category from a pitching side. I think what they do offensively is just so far and beyond what most teams can put out there. And you chalk it up to a bad weekend, but I think if you get into 4 wins here in your next 2 SEC series, you feel good about where you're standing in the national picture heading into Hoover.
That would get you to 20-9, and I think would probably get you the number 1 overall seed if you're LSU at that point. So anything tonight, Northwestern coming in, it's obviously a team with an RPI near 150, and the rain may be an issue for that one anyway, but anything tonight you'd like to see in kind of a game where LSU has the ability to tinker?
Yeah, I mean, I just really like to see some of these pitchers come in and just find the strike zone. Yeah. I mean, I know that's a simple request here, but I mean, a lot of these guys have just really struggled to consistently find the strike zone in this last weekend in particular. And so you can get some of those guys that maybe struggled over the weekend, a good inning or 2. I think that services my request in terms of what I'm looking to see. I'll be interested to see what they do with the outfield. I think that's not a concern per se, but certainly a thing that you have to keep your eye on here down the stretch is which guy in the outfield can really assert himself next to Morgan and Cruz. And so those are probably the 2 biggest things that I'd like to see.
And then against Mississippi State, key to the weekend, strikes again. Is that where we are?
Yeah, I look, the biggest, I think the biggest deficiency right now, and I'm not sure if you agree to this, but it's the pitching, and it's just, can you get the ball over the plate? And I'd rather see LSU be hit to death and lose that way than just walk guys in and not and kind of just beat themselves. I think that has been a common theme for this team when they do lose, is that they're not necessarily being beat by the other team. They're kind of costing themselves a little bit, and I think the free passes are right at the top of the list of why that's the case.
We're going to talk hoops coming up in 20 minutes here, but just your thoughts on the roster that Matt McMahon has kind of put together for year 2. It's a pretty sizable overhaul, as we imagine, and it's going to look a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm writing about that right now, kind of, as we were about to hop on the phone here. I like what they did just in terms of the offensive potential of this group. I think it's far superior to what you could probably expect last year. I think they brought in a lot of really solid pieces, and it starts with Jalen Cook for me. I think he's going to be a huge difference maker for this team. Just getting guys in the right spots, finding them, attacking off the pick and roll. And I think they have a really talented center in Will Baker who's going to really contribute on that end of the floor. I think probably the biggest thing for me right now is, do they have enough rim protection? Do they have enough size? And do they have enough rebounding to be able to contend in the SEC? I think that was something that they didn't really address the way that I had hoped maybe they could. But I think offensively their potential is a lot higher than it was last year.
He is Glenn West, go-to-47 for all your recruiting, basketball, baseball, football needs. Glenn West got you covered over there at go-to-47. Thanks, Glenn.
All right, talk soon.
Always enjoy our chats with Glenn every single Tuesday. Appreciate him jumping aboard. If you're looking for something to do this evening and looking a little sloppy, may not get out to the box, we got you covered. Sports trivia at Pluckers, 8:30 every single Tuesday. We got sports trivia, 5 rounds, 5 questions in each round. You'll have a first place and a second place for every round. First place, 15 Pluckers dollars. Second place, 5 Pluckers dollars. You win a couple of those rounds, get a couple of seconds, throw in best team name at the end of the night. That's 10 extra Plucker dollars. You can walk out of there with $45, $50. That's a pretty good day. Cover some food, cover your drinks, and it's always a really good time. We'll be watching LSU and Northwestern State. We'll be watching NBA playoffs, and we'll be having some fun with some sports trivia. So grab a team and coming out to Pluckers on Nicholson tonight, 8:30 sports trivia. When we come back, I saw this story, and I just couldn't believe it. My heart sunk when I read it. I want to give you the details of said story when we come back to close out hour 1.
This is on Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville, or NOLAFlooring.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Sandy Grove, join us for the Wednesday edition of Handy Time. Take a look back at LSU and Northwestern State. Scott Rabelais from The Advocate is with us, and we do first class, second class, no class. Handy Time, noon weekdays, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So to close out hour number one, I wanted to relay this story that I read today. Saw it on Twitter, and my heart sank when I read it. It's not that serious, not life or death here. We're talking about sports. But in the terms of sports, it was just a gut punch. And it's about golf. And I know that this is not a huge golf market, and we don't talk a ton of golf here, but y'all know that I enjoy golf. Jacob Beck enjoys golf, and there's a lot of levels to golf. We generally talk about the elite of the elite in the majors. But there's a lot that goes into the world of golf professionally, in this case, in terms of an amateur. And the beauty of the Open Championship, the British Open, and the United States Open are that they're truly open. You don't have to be one of the 50 best players in the world to get in. As long as your handicap's under 1.7, you can go qualify for the U.S. Open. Now you've got to get into a pool of 9,600 players, literally, to determine 530 spots that will go to the final qualifier at 13 sites in May and early June to qualify for the U.S. Open. So it's a grind. You get in with almost 10,000 people, and they're picking about 15 of them. But you can make it. It happens every year. And so on Monday, there was one of these qualifiers. It's a local qualifier. It was up at Illini Country Club in Springfield. And Tommy Cool plays golf at Illinois. He's a really, really good player. And he had made it through this qualifier. In fact, he made it through with a course record 10 under 62. And he was done, and there was a playoff to determine who else would advance out of this qualifier for the last spot. And one of his teammates, Adrian Dumont Deschart, was in the playoffs. So Tommy Cool has shot 62. He's through to the next round of qualifiers, one more step to get to the U.S. Open, and he's watching his teammate try to compete for the last spot. His other teammate, Jackson Buchanan, comes up and says, man, great round, man. Awesome, 62. And then he said this: I thought it was really tough putting on those aerated greens. And Cool kind of felt sick to his stomach and realized that he had made a significant mistake. For those who don't know what aerated greens are, obviously grass is not meant to be cut at the level of a golf green all year long, forever. So a couple times a year, maybe once, depending on the course, they have to punch holes in the green, basically, to let the grass get healthy again. And why they're playing U.S. Open local qualifiers on aerated greens is beyond me, but they did. And Cool realized over the course of his round that he was not only repairing his ball mark, but also repairing some of the areas on the green that had been aerated, which is illegal. So now he's faced with a decision. Do I just sit on it? Or do I go to the rules official and say, hey, I was repairing this stuff all day? None of his playing partners said anything to him. He didn't realize it until he was done. He was over watching the playoff. So he went to the rules official, said, hey, Mr. Bailey, Todd Bailey, said, I was fixing these aeration marks. Disqualified. DQ'd from the event, which is obviously devastating for him, not being able to continue. It got his teammate who was out watching that playoff, got him in immediately because there was a spot vacated. But Cool said, I felt sick to my stomach, quote, I knew I wouldn't be able to sleep if I didn't tell the rules official. That is tough. And maybe Tommy Cool becomes a pro and becomes a top 50 player in the world and plays in 15 U.S. Opens and wins 2 of them. I don't know. Maybe he goes the way of the vast majority of golfers that turn professional and wallow around on mini tours and smaller tours and the Korn Ferry Tour and maybe get your card for the PGA Tour and bounce back. It's just really hard to make it in pro golf. But he was knocking on the door of the last stage of the U.S. Open qualifier and is no longer in contention for that. I found that just gut-wrenching. And there's different types of golfers. You've played with all of them. There are the golfers that are going to do anything they can to bend the rules and foot wedge and, take gimmies and, be a little bit liberal with where the ball crossed the hazard line and all that. They're going to drop a ball when the guys that play like that. And I'm honestly probably closer to cool in terms of my own score because I'm only out on the golf course to try to shoot a score. I'm not really out there for the bet or beat the guy I'm playing with or any of that unless you're in a U.S. Open. And then that's the only reason you're out there is to win. Your score doesn't matter. It just has to be better than the rest of the gang. But that's part of golf that doesn't really exist in any other sports. You get a lot of defensive ends that are calling roughing the passer on themselves. Got a lot of offensive guards after a 68-yard touchdown. I was holding there. We need to bring that one back. You get a lot of basketball players calling technicals on themselves. Golf's the only one where you kind of police it yourself. And I think Cool probably did the right thing. It's egregious to me that they were playing a local U.S. Open qualifier on punched greens. That's absolutely ludicrous to me. But he probably did the right thing. If he's able to sleep a little bit better, we'll see. And hopefully he gets back on his horse and qualifies next year or, turns pro and starts a really lucrative career. But all these guys are so good, and they're all betting on getting hot at one given point, whether it's winning on a professional event, winning a PGA Tour event, which gets you a 2-year exemption. They're all good enough to get hot for 4 days. And Cool obviously was white hot when he needed it most in the U.S. Open qualifier, and then it goes away on a little bit of a semantic rule. Crazy story that I read earlier today about Tommy Cool at the U.S. Open qualifier. That'll do it for hour number 1 here. Chatted with Sharif Ishak, chatted with Glenn West. It's all on demand, 1045ESPN.com, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Google, anywhere you find your sound. When we come back, Matthew Bruni going to talk basketball and still got some NBA to talk about as well. Don't go anywhere. Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
All right, let's say ah.
Where'd my spotlight go?
Super weird, but we can take care of it.
Get in and get better at Patient Plus.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, anytime. Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care.
This is SportsCenter.
Hello there. I'm Mark Robbins. Game 5 NBA playoffs. Denver hosting Phoenix tonight. Suns without Chris Paul as he deals with a hamstring injury. He'll miss his third straight game of the series. Phoenix has won the last two to tie this series at 2. Former NBA player Darius Miles says the Suns have Devin Booker to thank for still being in the series.
He's doing it on every aspect of the game, and he's leading this team to it. Like, to have somebody like KD to be like, wow, it's crazy to watch how him go, you know he's putting in work.
That is Darius Miles earlier on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max here on ESPN Radio. The other NBA playoff game tonight, Philadelphia at Boston in that series, is tied at 2. Pair of Game 4s in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight on ESPN and the ESPN app, beginning at 7 p.m. Eastern with Carolina at New Jersey. And then it's Colorado at Seattle, 9:30 Eastern. Avalanche with a 2-1 series lead. Hall of Fame basketball coach Denny Crum led Louisville to 2 national titles, died on Tuesday. Former player and coach at UCLA as well, was 86 years old.
If you need to hire, then you need Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform helps you schedule and conduct video interviews all in one place. Finding your next great hire has never been more streamlined. Get hiring at Indeed.com/credit.
Now, Hunt Palmer. Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Holding down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2 on this Tuesday, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN, coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. Plenty to get to over the next hour. We'll get ready for LSU and Northwestern State from the box tonight, weather permitting. We'll come up at the bottom of the hour. But right now, we head out to the Jim's Firearms Hotline. We'll chat with Matthew Bruni from the Bengal Tiger, part of the 1-3 network. Matthew, how are you?
Hey, hon, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing well. Let's talk some basketball as Matt McMahon's kind of put the finishing touches on this roster moving forward. First, before we get into this roster, let's look at the deficiencies, the significant ones, big picture from year one of the Matt McMahon era. Where were there significant problems?
Where to begin? I think the first thing that a lot of people noticed was the lack of guard play, lack of shooting, lack of creation, lack of a true point guard. When, obviously Adam Miller struggled greatly. All the guards, Juice Hill struggled greatly. I think Cam Hayes was probably the only bright spot at guard. Tyrell Ward showed flashes on the wing, but the guard play just wasn't good enough. And then as much as I really liked KJ Williams, second team all-conference player, the best player on the team, he wasn't a rim protector. He was a good rebounder, but he didn't take up a ton of space in the paint. So, and then they didn't have they had Derek Fountain and Jalen Reed at the 4 who were fine, but just overall a roster that didn't have enough shooting, enough guard play to really make up for the fact that they didn't have a ton of size on the wing or in the paint.
So as you would imagine, big, massive roster turnover like there is just about everywhere in college basketball. But we want to start with the guys that LSU will bring back and your expectation for a little bit of an improvement here or there. Let's start with the guards. Tyrell Ward, a 6'6" wing. Trey Hannibal, who we know, a fifth-year player, 6'2", driver and just kind of grinder. And then Imwani Wilkinson, who missed most of the season with injury.
Yeah, Imwani Wilkinson, obviously the veteran of the group going into his 4th year at LSU now. It feels like it's kind of do or die at this point. To either he has to pick up the offensive production or he's going to be out of the rotation again. His defense is very, very good, but as we saw last year's team needed scoring, and he could not provide that. Tyrell Ward, I have high expectations for. He and Jalen Reed, who we'll talk about, those two kind of dictate the ceiling for this team and this program to me, just because they were so highly rated out of high school. They did have so much potential, and they do. And so their development is so important. So Tyrell Ward, I think, best case scenario, he ends up being, an 8 to 10 point per game scorer and really blossoms this year in his second season. And Trey Hannibal, I think, is a fine bench piece. I think he's fine to bring back as a culture guy. He seems like a good kid, head on his shoulders and everything. So I don't have a problem with that. Just as long as he can play his role and isn't asked to do more than what he's capable of.
And then the front court, you bring back Derek Fountain and Jalen Reed. Fountain, a real veteran piece, and then Jalen Reed, a guy who got some playing time as a freshman.
Yeah, Jalen Reed's interesting because he actually started the first 9 games of the year, and then Derek Fountain took over from there, which made complete sense. Fountain was the better player, more prepared. Fountain is probably the most ready-to-play returner of the group, which is good. I expect him to man the 4 position and play it well this year. Jalen Reed, like I said, with Tyrell Ward, has incredible potential, and I think he's going to have to continue to take steps forward. He was definitely getting his feet under him last year, but the talent is there. If he can get that jump shot coming around a little bit more, I think the way he can handle the ball, the control he has, I think is real promising. So I like those two at the 4.
All right, the transfers in, as you look at them big picture, and we'll go through them, but as you look at big picture, is there anything that you can tell that Matt McMahon was looking to identify outside of guys that played high school basketball in Louisiana?
Offense. Offense is the storyline here. Jalen Cook, Carlos Stewart, Will Baker at the 5, all very, very potent scorers, and I think that kind of set the identity for what this team can be this year, is that they should be able to score the ball at a pretty high clip, which is exciting. We'll worry about the other side of the ball, later, but Will Baker, Jalen Cook, and Carlos Stewart are all very, very capable scorers.
And we saw a mid-major point guard come with Matt McMahon from Murray State and Juice Hill, and he really struggled to make the adjustment up to the Southeastern Conference. What makes you believe that Jalen Cook, an undersized mid-major guard for the last couple of years, is going to make that transition a lot more seamless?
Yeah, the difference, there's a few differences. The first being Juice Hill played in the Ohio Valley Conference, which just wasn't a good conference. It is not a good conference. Jalen Cook, while the American is not a high major conference, it's not the bottom of the American is pretty bad. You look at the top, and it was Houston, it was Memphis, and there were some very capable teams in there athletically that could play. So he has reps against very good teams, and he's played well, and the usage and all that. He is a bona fide scorer. We're going to have to see how the efficiency holds up and how the passing holds up. But I think, if nothing else, McMahon has hitched his wagon to Jalen Cook and said, all right, you're going to be the lead guard. You're going to have to score efficiently and kind of be the leader of this team at the point guard position. So I do think it is different, and I think he's just a much better player than Juice Hill.
Carlos Stewart, 6'1" guard that they've got from Santa Clara who went to Dunham, and then Jordan Wright, another Dunham product who was at Vanderbilt the last couple of years. What about those two?
Yeah, the two Dunham kids. Carlos Stewart, 6'1", strong, stocky, but very, very explosive guard that can shoot off the dribble, shoot off the catch, shot over 40% from three this year. Very excited to watch him. I think he's probably best off the bench at either the one or the two. And then Jordan Wright, I think he's probably the most important piece that they added. Not because he's the best. Like I said, Jalen Cook is probably the best. But Jordan Wright comes from Vanderbilt, where they spent 4 years rebuilding that program, and they finally had their breakthrough last year. I think he brings that experience and knowledge of saying, all right, he knows the SEC. He knows what it takes to win in the SEC. He's been through the downs. He's not going to be phased if this team struggles. I think that's a really big addition and a veteran piece for them. So I like that pick a lot.
And they bring in Will Baker and Hunter Dean as post players. What about those two guys?
Yeah, Will Baker, one of the most efficient players in the country, just bar none on offense. He's fantastic. Can shoot the three. Only shot about 2 a game, but was efficient there. Efficient in the post. Efficient face-up game. Just really shoots 80% from the free throw line. I mean, he's just all around a great offensive player. My concern with him is defensively and even rebounding to a degree. So we'll see how that holds up. But he's going to be the offensive center that replaces KJ Williams. And then Hunter Dean, just a backup center, 6'10", I think has good physicality, athletic, a good role man. Offensively, I think he makes sense. We'll have to see how he does, coming from George Washington in the A-10. Wasn't great, but started at George Washington the last 2 years. So, get some experience there. I think, like I said, Will Baker, Jalen Cook, Carlos Stewart, all very offensive-oriented players. So, if nothing else, hopefully this team can score.
And then Matt was on with us last week and said one of the keys that they want to be each and every year is old. They want to be an old team because that's now available to you in college basketball. However, you are going to recruit freshmen, and they bring in Mike Williams, a 6'3" guard, and Corey Chest, who's a 6'8" and more of a wing post player. What can we expect from the freshmen next year?
Yeah, Mike Williams, kind of a combo guard scorer. I'm not sure. I would be surprised if he broke into the rotation year one. But I do think he has a fairly high ceiling. He's a little bit outside the top 150 in most rankings and ratings. So we'll have to see. But Corey Chest at the 4, I think, could actually get some minutes. I think he's a high motor guy, rebounds, defends well, things that you don't have to be old to do, And so that's really encouraging. And if he brings that motor, I think that's a very, very encouraging sign. And he's from New Orleans, so playing for his state to a degree. Those two are going to be projects a little bit, but I think Corey Chest has the ability as a fringe top 100 guy to contribute.
Let's look hypothetically. Last 90 seconds of a tight game, last 8 seconds of the shot clock. Who does LSU have on this roster that they can get the ball to and go get a basket, whether it's a post player or somebody out on the perimeter?
I feel good about Jalen Cook. I also feel good about Will Baker if they run a ball screen with Will Baker as a screener, maybe pick and pop, screen and short roll if Cook draws 2. I mean, those two to me, there's a lot of different ways that McMahon can use them, and that's the most exciting thing because last year they couldn't defend anybody and they did not have the players to score the ball, and it was just a mess, as we know.
Yeah, that makes things tough.
Yeah, this year they're probably not going to be able to stop people, but if nothing else, they're going to be able to score the ball. And I think we saw Missouri last year in a similar vein where they just scored 80 points a game and kind of just let it come to them, and they end up making the tournament and whatnot. I think they at least have the recipe and the players, and I think a little bit more length on the wing with Wright and Ward to score the ball, to be a better team, getting downhill, finish, shooting, hopefully comes is strong as well. If Fountain and Reed at the 4 can maybe stretch their range a bit. So, yeah, I think that was the goal. I think they accomplished that goal, and it makes for at least an interesting storyline going into the year.
Look, they can't be much worse from a record perspective in the Southeastern Conference. So I think the answer is, are they going to be better than last year? Well, I think they would have to be. The question is just how much better. I won't hold you to this in November, but it is May, and they've got the roster kind of set. How much better do you think they can be?
I'm around 7 wins right now. And I know that sounds like, oh, that's still not good enough. That's 7-11 in conference. If they jump from 2 wins to 7 wins, I think that would be a pretty successful season. When you look at the fact last year, there were a lot of teams that went 8-10, 9-9, that I considered those teams like a Florida to be a decent basketball team. You know, I'm like Mississippi State, South Carolina, Georgia had 6 wins last year. I mean, there's teams that in the SEC I also expect to be much better next year than this past year. So that's a big thing. So I'm around 7 wins right now. I think that's pretty safe. I can be convinced up or down 1, but I'm at 7 right now.
Look, Mississippi State made the NCAA tournament as a play-in at 8-10 in the league this past year. I mean, they beat Marquette, and I think they had one more good non-conference win, but it doesn't take a ton to get in the NCAA tournament, or certainly to be in that discussion in the middle of February, and hopefully LSU can get there. Matthew, we appreciate the time, man.
Yes, thanks, Hunt.
He is Matthew Bruni. He does such a great job over there at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3. Shay and Billy handle a lot of the recruiting side of thing, the player analysis side of thing. Matthew handles more of the day-to-day coverage of the teams and does a great job with basketball breakdowns, with football breakdowns, and kind of the stuff that goes on the floor as opposed to in the recruit's living room or on the official visits. And it's a great mix they've got over there at On3. Would invite you all to go give it a look. And they let me write some baseball stuff on Mondays, which I appreciate as well. We've still got plenty to get to. I want to talk a little bit about LSU and Northwestern State here coming up. But I saw a headline on ESPN this morning that just about made my eyes fall out of my head. We'll talk about that next on Palmer Show.
This is on Palmer. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
I drove myself to the ER, had heart surgery, and drove myself home 24 hours later, feeling fine. Starting running again after the procedure, I'm getting excited thinking about it. I had no pain, nothing. I felt great. And right then and there, I was like, oh my God, I'm back. I'm back. It's just amazing.
Ochsner Health. Long live you.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring. Wherever you
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Thanks to Matthew Birney for jumping aboard, talking a little hoops as LSU's basketball roster is set up for the 2023-2024 season. Kind of walked through it there with Matthew, which I enjoyed. I teased this coming into the break. I saw a headline this morning as I'm giving the Myers man his bottle, and I just couldn't believe what I was reading. I realize that these talk shows tend to create some storylines even when they may not be there, or exaggerate a storyline that's there. It's not something that I do. It's not something I'm comfortable with, but it gets the majority of the population buzzing when you can create some hot takes. And I get it. I don't like it, but I get it. The headline I saw this morning, I just couldn't believe. Of course, the Lakers took a 3-1 lead last night on Golden State, and the headline I saw on ESPN this morning on Get Up with Mike Greenberg and the whole gang was, should the Lakers rest their starters in Game 5? What? Should they rest their starters? I don't even know where to start with that. Now, I am a person who is fine in the era of load management. I know it makes people cranky. I know that people spend really good money to go watch professional sporting events and they want to see their best players play. That's not why I'm in the game. I'm in to win championships, which is why I got 3 texts when the Cubs had a perfect game go off the rails in the 8th inning a couple of weeks ago. And they said, oh, are you broken up? I said, the Cubs won 10-0. Perfect game or not, like whatever. I'm trying to win and try to win the division. I saw LSU get no hit in Houston, and I don't care about that either. That was terrible. I was not pulling for it. I don't want my team to get no hit. I want them to win. I didn't want to see Dustin May when I went out to watch the Cubs and Dodgers. I'm not there to see the professional players. I'm there for the Cubs to win. I'm there to win. That's my sports rooting interest. And so if an NBA franchise determines it's the best course of action for 2 of their guys to sit on a Tuesday night in Sacramento in January, I'm not going to get all broken up about it. I don't care. That doesn't bother me a lick. Resting your starters in a playoff game is absurd. You're telling me you want to go just give this one up because you know you're going to come back and beat them in Game 6? Did you see Steph go for 50 last week? You want to give him an opportunity to do that? He stunk last night. We got it. But resting your starters, my word, it's a basketball game. It's not a street fight. It's not a marathon. Resting your starters, I cannot believe I'm reading this on ESPN. That was the dumbest thing I saw on ESPN this morning. The second was Mike Greenberg saying that he had heard from Jalen Rose that the Knicks going to Miami might have their energy sapped because of the temperature change in Miami from New York. And he added, I know it's an indoor sport, but just being out and about during the day, it's hotter there. You might lose some energy. What are we talking about on ESPN today? Resting starters and 24-year-old basketball players not being able to hang outside when it's 84 degrees? Grab a glass of water. It's air conditioned in the arena. You got a locker room. Take a nap. I don't know. Zapping energy. I had enough of get up this morning. I had to come on into work after looking at that. Now, the one piece that I did see that I thought was maybe worth a little bit of a consideration is now that the Warriors are one game away from elimination, and we feel like that one is coming. Whether it's game 5, if the Lakers rest their starters, who knows? Maybe it's game 6, maybe it's game 7, but they're probably going to lose this series. And the question is the end of the dynasty? And I'm okay with that discussion. We don't have to have where does Patrick Mahomes rank on all-time quarterbacks after he's played 6 years? Probably wait on that. But at this point, we all feel like Draymond Green is going to be gone. And he's, like him or not, a huge component to what this has been over the last decade. And while Curry and Thompson have been the face of it, and Durant certainly added a huge piece to a couple, Draymond's right there with him. It's not as flashy, certainly more controversial, not as well-liked or beloved, but he's been there. And if he leaves, and you start to look around the West at some of the young teams, and you look at Steph and Klay not getting any younger, it's fair to ask, is this the end? I hope not, because I said this last week. My 8 minutes of NBA talk that I did for the whole week. I love watching them play. I like shooting. I like shooting in basketball, I like middle infield play in baseball, because those are the two things I did many, many moons ago when I played sports. And so I gravitate towards people who do what I do. Have a tougher time relating to Adrian Peterson running a 4.3 40 and trucking linebackers. Have a little bit of a hard time relating to guys throwing 100 miles an hour or 7-footers posting up on the block. That's tough for me to gravitate towards. Not that I shot threes like Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or could pick it name your shortstop in the MLB. I don't mean it that way. It's just those are the things I did. Those things I practiced. I have a little bit more affinity to watching that. Steph, interesting lift. I saw this stat. He's 0-12 in his playoff career on potential go-ahead shots in the last 45 seconds of the fourth quarter or overtime. In Game 4, he missed multiple shots in a game for the first time in his playoff career. But 0 for 12, that surprises me. He's not 0 for 12 from the other free throw line in warm-ups. He always finds a way to make the ball go in the bucket, but just couldn't do it last night. And this is just another testament to LeBron, to the Lakers front office for creating this out of basically nothing, and to Anthony Davis for stepping up, staying healthy, and getting it done. And I don't think really anybody's pulling for him, but they're getting it done. And they've kind of imposed their will on the Warriors in this series, and the Warriors really aren't able to punch back. And that's why it's 3-0. So in synopsis of my NBA segment here, no, I don't think the Lakers should rest their starters in Game 5 of a playoff series. No, I don't think the Knicks are being adversely affected by warm afternoons in Miami. And yes, I think we could be watching the end of the Warriors. They could come back and win these last 3. They could make another push. They could add another piece to Poole and Thompson and Curry next year that replaces Draymond and is more effective, and they could make another run. They're not too old, but it could be. It's not a spot to rule it out. And if that's the end, if it is the end of a significant runs from them, that's a bummer for me because I love watching those guys play. That'll do it for NBA talk here on this Tuesday. We will be watching the NBA tonight at Pluckers on Nicholson 8:30 Sports Trivia. Come on out, grab a team, or just come by yourself. Either way, we'll be playing Sports Trivia at 8:30. We'll be watching LSU and Northwestern State. We'll be watching the NBA Finals. I'll have the Cubs and Cardinals on a TV. And we have a lot of fun on Tuesdays. You can win Pluckers gift cards, delicious food, cold beer, cold drinks. It's a good time on Tuesday evening. So if you've never been, come on out at 8:30 tonight. When we come back, I'll get you ready for LSU in Northwestern State. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
This is Hunt Palmer. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Hey, it's Matt Musso. Join me Monday through Friday for your daily update on LSU baseball with Musso at the Box, presented by New Orleans Flooring, wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Google, and check out New Orleans Flooring. 2 locations, Metairie and Prairieville or NOLAFlooring.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
All right, let's say ah.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Tuesday's AFR. We'll talk some football with legendary D-line coach Pete Jenkins, and we'll preview LSU Northwestern State from the box. Join us for Tuesday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So it'll be LSU and Northwestern State tonight from the box, weather permitting. I got a tweet just now saying, hey, what's the word on the game? They haven't announced anything, and I would imagine Northwestern is probably on the road by now. So I think they'll do everything they can to get the game in. I mean, Natchitoches is 2.5 hours away, so you figure if they leave at 2, that would put them here at 4:30. That's probably a little bit pushing it. So they may have left it at 1 or 1:30, quite honestly. And so I would imagine with no announcement coming right now, they have no plans to hammer this thing. I think they're going to try to play it, and if they get rained out, they get rained out. I was looking at doing some research this game because we know just another midweek game. The position LSU's put themselves in, this game's inconsequential. But I did see a quote that piqued my interest from Northwestern's associate head coach, Chris Bertrand. Bobby Barbier is their head coach, but Chris Bertrand is quoted in their preview piece on their website. And I'm assuming based on the way that the quote starts, the question was, what does it mean to go play LSU, this late in the season? I'm assuming that was the question, but here's the quote that I found interesting. Chris Bertrand said, I don't know that it's the time of year you play them that matters as much as your ball club going to play that game and enjoying the experience and learning from it. Ultimately, that's what we're after. Whether you play those guys in February or you play them in May, the idea is you get a litmus test and you get to teach some life lessons and some baseball lessons to your ball club. At this time, one of the most opportune times we prepare to go on a run and finish the Southland schedule and build toward the tournament. And that's a very candid response. This game doesn't matter for Northwestern because they can't get an at-large bid. If they're going to go to the NCAA tournament, they're going to have to go to the Southland tournament in 2 weeks and win it. They know that. And this game doesn't matter for LSU because their RPI is 2, and if they win 4 of the next 6 conference games, they're going to be the number 1 seed in the country, probably maybe the 2nd. So what happens tonight, wins and losses, doesn't really matter to either team, but that's not really what I'm talking about, especially from LSU's perspective. From Northwestern's perspective, it's nice to hear a coach say, you know what, it's pretty cool. We play in that, and I'm obviously paraphrasing because I read you the actual quote, but what I'm gleaning from that is we play in Natchitoches in front of 300 people, and then we go down to Thibodaux and play in front of 800 people. I don't know what the Southland draws, but it's not a lot. And then we, go to Lake Charles and play McNeese or whatever the case may be. And it's nice for us to go and play in this big, 10,000 seat stadium that's games broadcast on SEC Network Plus, and then there's LSU, which is a brand that matters to people that play baseball in this state. And it's not something that you hear all the time, and it's not something that's going to matter once the game starts, and I don't think it's something that matters very much to LSU fan base that's listening to this show. But I found it refreshing for a coach from Northwestern to come on and say, you know what, doesn't matter when we go play, it's just important to go play that game and enjoy the experience and learn from it, was the direct quote, which I thought was cool. Northwestern's having a nice season to this point. They're 25-20 overall. They're 8-10 in the Southland Conference, which puts them just north of the middle of the pack. And they're a team that is going to have a fighting chance when they go to the Southland Conference tournament to win it. And I'll tell you this, and this is something that I brought up when LSU played Grambling and Southern early in the season. If you remember those games, I mean, the Grambling game, kid was throwing 65 miles an hour. And I put this in the back of my mind when you play these teams. If a Louisiana team gets through their conference tournament, especially one with a middling record like 25-20 and an RPI where Northwestern State's is, which is right around 150. I'll check it right now as I've got it pulled up. Their RPI is right now 147. So you're looking at almost a quad 4 team there. If they get through their conference tournament, they could get sent here. We've seen that over the years. ULM's been a 4 seed here. Southern's been a 4 seed here. We've seen that. Southeastern has been sent here a couple of times. We've seen Tulane as a 3 seed before in this regional. Louisiana Lafayette's been here as a 2 and a 3 seed in this regional. It's common. Northwestern, that was incidental, but they got sent to Corvallis with us a couple of years ago. But they could be sent here. And so I'll be taking some notes. Just kind of looking at some guys, because that's my job here, is to do a little bit too much research and then pass the relevant stuff on to you, right? So I'll be looking at this Northwestern State lineup tonight, and I'll kind of see what I see, because ultimately we'll have to decide, Jay Johnson will have to decide, who needs to pitch against the 4 seed on Friday. And it ain't Skeens. So if Hurd gets an inning tonight, if Gavin Guidry throws 2 innings tonight, if Riley Cooper throws 3 innings tonight, okay, what does that look like? And do we think that that piece of LSU's pitching staff is good enough to get through Northwestern State? Now, you can't draw everything from one 9-inning baseball game. I know that. And they may play 7 tonight. They may play 4 tonight and get rained out. I don't know. But again, my job is to overanalyze this thing. And I'll just file this away because Northwestern State could win the Southland. And I think if they did, they'd be a 4 seed. And if they were a 4 seed, they may come here. The same reason I way overthought it when LSU played Grambling and they were trotting out a guy throwing 65 miles an hour, and I was on the call of the game, and I looked at Chris and I said, look, here's the deal. This doesn't matter for production when they start Southeastern Conference play. It has no indication on how they'll look offensively. But it may be good for them to have seen this if this is the 4 seed that shows up at the box. You never know what's going to happen in the SWAC tournament. I'll tell you this. Southern's been sent here as a 4 seed in 2009. Jackson State's been sent here as a 4 seed in 2013. That happens. And so if it does, then I'll kind of look at that. Because really, as I go to preview this game, I'm not here to tell you, that LSU's got to get this from that guy. I want him to throw strikes tonight. Newsflash. That would help. I don't want him to make any more errors. I'd like to see it cleaned up. If you're going to get Pearson in at bat, or you want to get Kling 4 at bats, or you want to sit Dugas, which we've talked about for 3 weeks now, they're not doing that, so we don't have to worry about it. But what does the catcher look like? Do you want to get Christian Little back on the horse for an inning? I mean, there are plenty of things that we'll talk about when we look at this game tomorrow, but in all actuality, this game is inconsequential. LSU's got 6 conference games left to play. They need to take care of 4 of them, some way or another. Probably only 3, but 4 makes me feel safe as could be. And if you do that, you're a top 8. And I really want, and this is something we'll talk about when we get to Mississippi State on Friday, but what I really want for this team is for them to get to Hoover with nothing on the line. So you can do whatever you want when you get there. And that's very likely going to happen. I think we're all aware of that. I've been saying for 3 weeks that this team, the way that Skeens pitches it and the way they play offensively, they're going to be a top 8 seed. They're going to be fine. And I still believe that to be the case. You look at the 2 teams they're playing. You look at what they need to do to get a top 8 seed. It's not very much. They're probably going to go to Hoover with nothing to play for. And that is the ultimate goal. You go there, maybe hopefully you get a couple of games against top-level arms. Maybe you see Sanders from South Carolina. Maybe you see Dolander on a Wednesday. Maybe you get Hurston Waldrop on a Wednesday or Thursday. That's something I'll want LSU to see one more time before conference play. Maybe you get another look at Hunter Holland from Arkansas. Those guys aren't going to pitch on Tuesday, and maybe not even on Wednesday, but maybe on Wednesday and certainly on Thursday because they will have pitched on Thursday the week prior. That's one thing I want to see when LSU gets to Hoover. I want to see them against an ace or 2, but I want to go there with nothing on the line, and that's where this thing is. So I just can't go deep into LSU and Northwestern. I will keep an eye on Northwestern's lineup tonight, just in case they were to show up here as a 4 seed, because more often than not, there's a Louisiana team in this regional, and so that's where I'll keep my eyes. I want to tease a segment that we're going to do tomorrow, just kind of get your brains churning. I'll probably do the second segment tomorrow. We'll have What If Wednesday at 1:30. We'll have Demui at 2:30 tomorrow. But one of the things I want to do, because I had this discussion earlier this weekend and kind of wanted to get it on the air, and so I've done some research over the last 2 days. I've dug deep on this. LSU fan, if you had one game to win, you giving the ball to Aaron Nola or Paul Skeens? That will be a question I ask and answer for you tomorrow, but we'll kind of get that rolling. It'll be our Citizens Bank and Trust poll question of the day tomorrow as well, but that's just a little teaser for what we're going to do tomorrow. I've gone into the numbers. I've gone to individual outings. I've got all kinds of stuff that I'm going to go through. Thankfully, I covered Aaron when I was at LSU. When I was with Bayou Bengals Insider, I was at every home game he started for 3 years, and some of the ones away from home. I saw him pitch in College Station. I saw him pitch in Oxford. I saw him pitch in Starkville. I saw him pitch in Omaha. I saw him pitch in Hoover. So I saw a lot of Aaron, and certainly Paul Skeens is right here front and center, and we've been watching him for 3 months here. So that'll be something that we do tomorrow. I'm looking forward to that. We'll probably react to LSU and Northwestern in the opening segment, and then I'll get into Nola versus Skeens as we have a little fun and kick that around on tomorrow's show. All right, we'll take one more time out. When we come back, it'll be take it or leave it, and we'll be done on this Tuesday. Come back with us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team have been in this game for 3 decades, redesigning and renovating bathrooms as well as closets. Sometimes it's a full-scale renovation of your bathroom. It goes from the floor to the plumbing to the shower to the toilets, the whole lot. Sometimes it's just a tub-to-shower conversion. You can decide what you want to do, and David Duvall can make it happen for you. And I can promise you this, they're going to show up, they're going to set a plan of action, they're going to stick to it, they're going to show up for work on time, and they're going to complete that project, and they're not going to come back 3 weeks later because they didn't do something right the first time. They're going to do right the first time and leave that competition behind. On the closet side, what would a customized closet do for your living situation? David Duvall and his team can do it. And if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, not going to charge you to rip out your current closet, not going to charge you for the installation of the new closet, just going to charge you for the cost of that unit. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. You can schedule a free consultation. You can look at the testimonials, and you can look at pictures of their great work. So onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there for you. You want an HD sonar where you can see the fish under the water before you cast, beat all your friends, that's there for you at front-to-back boat service. So don't put it off. We got the parts in right now. Get them now before they go back on back order. Front-to-back boat service.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey there, little buddy. What's the matter?
What's the matter? My windows, siding, and my door. That's what's the matter.
Relief Windows can fix all of that. I got you. Pop, pop. What's up?
Oh my gosh, look!
Curb appeal. That's a good-looking neighborhood. ReliefWindows.com.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 7.
Join me, Jimmy Otten, Mike Delicano, for the Tuesday evening edition of Game Time. We're at Mike Anderson Seafood on Lee, just off of Nicholson. Tuesday edition of Game Time, 6 to 8 p.m., right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, it's about time to wrap things up here on this Tuesday. A reminder that LSU and Northwestern tonight at 6:30 from the box. If you want to listen, you can catch it on our sister station. That is Eagle 98.1. Pregame show fires up at 6 o'clock. First pitch just after 6:30 from the box. So we will have that for you right here on our family of networks here at Guaranteed Media. All right, Jacob Bett, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
All righty. 2 months after trading away legend Patrick Kane to the Rangers, the Chicago Blackhawks won the NHL draft lottery and the rights to phenom Connor Bedard, who many are comparing to Connor McDavid, currently the best player in the NHL. The NHL lottery is rigged. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. You can come back from, like, the Black Sox scandal. You can come back from Donaghy point shaven as an official. You can come back from a lot of things. I think if your fan base finds out you're rigging the league from the league office, I just don't think there's a way to come back from that. I think you've lost all credibility and the sport crumbles. So whether it's people talking about, the NFL, and then whether it's talking about the NBA lottery, the NHL lottery, it seems to me that the risk is nowhere near worth the reward. If your reward is getting a player to a big market or to a market that you need him to go to, the reward's not good enough for the risk of someone talking and finding out, hey, by the way, they rigged this thing and the entire league is rigged. Like, how could you come back from that?
That's a good point. But, I mean, with the Tim Donaghy thing and a lot of, it's hard to trust what he says, but a lot of people think that Scott Foster was involved with him in terms of turning the tide on games. And Scott Foster is still a referee in the NBA, by the way, and a lot of people don't like him.
Well,
but
most people don't like any refs. But yeah, true. I mean, point taken. Like, I get it. The league office cannot be fixing the league.
Yeah. All right, moving on here. According to People magazine, Robert De Niro welcomed his 7th child at age 79. Almost 80.
Yeah.
Having a newborn at 79. Take it or leave it.
So, I've got, an 18-month-old, and so I have a little bit of experience here. The way I'm doing it, absolutely not. You have to leave that all day long. Now, Robert De Niro can hire a nanny to do 100% of the newborn issues and never have to do anything he doesn't want to do. Have to change a single diaper, doesn't have to make a bottle, doesn't have to clean anything, doesn't have to do any dishes, doesn't have to, get up in the middle of the night, doesn't have to do any of that if he doesn't want to. However, I do feel a little bit, on this. I feel bad for the child whose dad is not going to make it very long. Dad's
going to be 90 when he's 10.
But his dad also has a significant amount of cash, that's going to be a nice little parachute. So, there's pros and cons to everything, but I can't quite relate to De Niro having a kid at 79 because it's just not quite like my experience. I had a lot of help. Appreciate all the grandmothers and my wife who's been a rock star through the entire thing, but it's still a little bit different when De Niro has unlimited funds where he can just have people around the clock doing whatever he needs.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I'd probably rather have a father that's going to be around, instead of being wealthy, but that's just me.
Sure.
Yeah. All right, moving on here. Saints Hall of Famer Ricky Jackson received his college degree from Pittsburgh at the age of 65. Take it or leave it.
Look, I guess if we're talking about Ricky Jackson, I'll take it.
I'll take it.
If we're talking about Hunt Palmer, we're leaving it. There's no shot that I'm playing better than a decade in the NFL. I'm going to the Hall of Fame. I know he started a trucking business. I don't know what his finances are. But at 65, if I've had that much success in my life, I'm not going to take kinesiology. I'm not darkening the door of American history. I'm just not doing that. I didn't want to do it when I was 17 or 21. I certainly don't want to do it when I'm financially set at 65. You find me on the golf course. You can find me in Cabo. You can find me grilling a steak. You can find me in the pool. You can find me a lot of different places. You're not going to find me in a classroom hearing a lecture. That is not going to happen. No chance.
I gotta respect it though, man. I mean, you go back
absolutely. He said that it would mean a lot to his parents who are no longer here, but it would mean a lot to them. They'd be proud, and that's all great. I'm not criticizing him for doing
that's
it.
just what you would
I'm
do.
saying there's no shot that I'm going to take classes at 65 if I'm financially set, which I feel like Ricky Jackson is. I don't think he's using this degree to go, fire up a job here to live. I think he's doing that just as an accomplishment. I'll accomplish 18 holes, maybe 36 holes in Cabo. I will not accomplish a degree from Pittsburgh at 65.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. I'm not going back to school at 63 or 64, however you did it. But anyway, last one here. Bronny James is headed to USC. That is University of Southern California. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I don't know if he had a UCLA offer or what. It obviously makes it really easy for his dad to get over there for games when they don't have one or whatever, being right there in the same city. I actually was obviously in LA a couple of weeks ago, and USC is right next to downtown LA. I did not realize that. On the way from where we were staying at a friend's house to Dodger Stadium as we were driving the interstate, USC was right to the left. And then we drove a little bit more. I mean, I don't remember now how far it was, but I remember, and downtown was right to the right. It's not more than 20 minutes. So that's great in terms of proximity. Again, I don't know how great a player he is. I don't know if UCLA, which is a better basketball program, offered. So I don't know exactly what the offers were, but I do think it's cool to have dad in attendance at some games. It's difficult with their schedules with LeBron playing in the NBA. Like or dislike LeBron, I do think that he has been a great father from the outside. And I think it's important that he, be there to support Bronny a little bit in college, and you get that opportunity at Southern Cal, and you wouldn't if you went to, Miami or Kansas. That doesn't work as well. So, great for them. Let's do it for us here on this Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Started things off talking about LSU's offense, and I went through some statistics. Went through some guys' SEC-only stats, went through some comparisons to some other teams, and then laid out what this offense has done in SEC play. So if you want to listen to that, it's kind of heavy on numbers, but it does give some statistics that I wasn't aware of and kind of hope to educate you a little bit. We did that at 1 o'clock. Sharif Ishak jumped on at 1:15 to talk all things New Orleans, Saints, minicamp, schedule release, expectations, all of that. Glenn West at 1:30. He's from Go247. We talked a lot of baseball with Glenn. Guy called a rules violation and disqualified himself after qualifying for the next stage of the U.S. Open. We talked about it at 1:45. It was a crazy story. Basketball roster, we went through it with Matthew Bruni at 2 o'clock. Lakers sitting their starters. I thought that was a very poor idea. Expressed why, and then we previewed LSU and Northwestern State. You can catch it all on demand, as I tell you, each and every day. Jimmy Ott's Game Time is coming up at 6 o'clock. Matt's going to drive you home next from 3 to 6 on After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Hey, what's up, y'all? It's that time again. It's heating up. Your boat's getting ready to come out and spend all summer on the water. It's time to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service, where if you want an incredible custom speaker install, it's going to blow people away in the water, that's there.